Hi, welcome to Illinois and Garden Zone 5. I'm so glad you're here with me today at the end of December of 2024. We are doing a look back at 2024 this year. Also some highlights of what happened in the garden this past year, show you some of the colors, how it progressed, and then talk a little bit about 2025 and what I see for the garden, and I need some input from you. We had a big addition to our yard here, and I want to show you that. It's going to change how I do things here in 2025. I've got to work around it, and I'll insert footage from the beginning of the spring of this year and show you how it looked in the cut flower garden. This was my first year having the cut flower garden, and then show you how it progressed. And lots of lessons learned this year in the cut flower garden. I'll be changing some things for next year from what I've learned this year already, switching it up, adding some new things out there in the cut flower garden, and maybe moving some things in the back garden here around too. Things are growing so well and so quickly. I may need to bump them out to give the other plants more space. So we may be doing that this spring too. But let's get started. Let me show you first what was recently added to our yard and my latest thrift find for the garden. And I would say thrift find, I didn't find it. My sister found it and gifted it to me, and I need your input as to where I'm going to put it this spring. So let's get going.
So the newest addition is a new shed up front next to our garage. We had a parking pad installed, and then also it had the new garage shed added. This is the same company that built the garden house in the backyard, so we're real happy with the quality of that garden house and decided that we would add an additional almost one-car garage up front.
So you can see when you go through the rose arbor here, the new shed is right up against the back of the fence. Now, originally what I had planned on doing this spring was taking alongside of the fence and landscaping all the way down, bringing it out probably 4 foot, and doing some hydrangeas, some roses, some evergreens, and then going along the backside and doing the same thing, and just expanding the cut flower garden. Not more raised beds, but having more things to cut from. I would have more things to make bouquets with. And I had debated about doing a whole line about 4 foot out all the way down of beautiful hydrangeas here and have them really tall. Now, I don't know if I want that now that we have this here. And so then we talked about doing arborvitaes, doing a whole line of arborvitaes, so that either on the far side, on the opposite side of the fence, I think they would be better than inside. So I'm not sure if I want to do that. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so let's go back in time now and look back at May. This is when we had the 4 foot privacy fence, which was replaced in June with a 6 foot privacy fence. And we changed the style of it too. So here it's more of a slat cottagey, I guess I would say, fence. We've got lots of supertunias in the window boxes and planters. Now keep in mind, this is the end of May, so we're just getting started with that color. Some sitting pretty roses there with some hydrangeas mixed in. I did enjoy having those roses, but did deal with powdery mildew on the sitting pretty roses, but they were still just absolutely beautiful. Now these are the knockout roses in red and pink. Knockout roses are wonderful. They're repeat blooming, lots of flower color in your garden all season long. so now we're a month later. It's at the very tail end of June, beginning of July.
So the plan is I have landscape fabric, and I'm gonna lay landscape fabric down in all the pathways, and then I have about 40 bags of mulch to spread on top of that. So it's early in the morning. It's supposed to be super hot today, so I'm gonna see how much of this I can get done this morning. I've already started with my first roll of landscape fabric down here on next to the garden shed, and then we're just going to keep on going and see what we end up with.
Then we are going to move to the back garden because we continued throughout the day taking breaks, and I did get all of that mulch laid out in the cut flower garden that day, which ended up being about, I think, 60 bags of mulch. But you can see now at the tail end of June how the flower garden is looking in the back garden. Still have that beautiful color of those supertunias. They're getting bigger. The roses are blooming again. So this would have been like their second flush of coming out a month later. We've got some gorgeous lavender there next to the roses interspersed. So then on to garden thrifting. I picked up this gorgeous old silver pitcher out thrifting. I found this at a Goodwill for, I think it was $5.99, and I am going to use it for one of my flower arrangements. So I'm out in the cut flower garden after all that mulch was put down, and I am picking a bouquet of fresh flowers that I grew mostly from seed over winter. I did also purchase like some little 6 packs of annuals from my local garden center and planted some of those. Some of my favorites though were that salvia Oxford blue from Johnny's. I really like that in arrangements. Snapdragons. I did a several varieties of snapdragons I bought from Johnny's. Hydrangeas. I love the Proven Winners hydrangeas. And then of course I went through and found roses that were beautifully in bloom and had to pick those for the arrangement. That's a Home Depot rose that I was picking from. That was called Sensuous by My Bouquet. And then I'm also reaching down and grabbing some lavender because lavender looks gorgeous in arrangements, but also smells wonderful, and it gives your arrangement height too. So just enjoy making flower arrangements. And I don't use wire or any type of any type of device to hold the flowers in place. So I just fill up my container with flowers. I don't like a lot of filler greens. I would prefer just using flowers from the garden. So just thought it was beautiful to see all that color. Now we're into the end of July, so we're talking another month later. Now we're at the tail end of August, the beginning of September, and look at the cut flower garden. You are getting early morning sunshine there, so that's what the glare is, and I do apologize for that, but I had to get out early in the morning and get pictures, video of the beautiful flowers for my first cut flower garden of the season. So these are things, like I mentioned, that I either grew from seed or they were little annuals that I picked up at the beginning of the season, and just I was thrilled about how much I had to pick from as far as for cut flowers. What I did learn is though, um, that Oxford blue is what makes arrangements beautiful, but be careful if you do decide to use it, it self-seeds. So I had seed that fell down into the mulch around that raised cut flower garden bed, and it started and rooted. So you want to put that somewhere that you don't mind that it self-sows. It is beautiful. It does get tall. It does attract the pollinators. So if you have a cottage garden, that would be beautiful in your cottage garden just to let it self-seed. A lot of pretty marigolds. I probably will do the marigolds in those front little boxes next year. I do like how they are flanking each side of the cut flower garden and just give a real bright pop of color. And I think that that was just one little marigold little plug on each side. So that's how big they grew. We've got a different type of salvia on this side. I do like to use a lot of different types of salvia in my bouquets. Not only do I love the purple color, I like the little florets on the flowers, and I like how they look inside of arrangements. I also did those little compact zinnias. They make great little filler flowers for your bouquets and look really pretty out in the cut flower garden. I did a lot of dahlias behind there. You can see in the background. I don't think I will do that again in 2025. The reason being is they took a very, very long time before they bloomed in my cut flower garden. And I think that's because the garden shed is right there. And so it doesn't get full sun. It gets some shade there, and maybe it wasn't enough sunshine, but even so, the dahlias didn't start blooming until later, almost September. So all summer long, I didn't have anything to cut in those long beds because it was all dahlias. So I will be switching those out for something else. Now that coneflower I did grow from seed. That was part of Johnny's seed haul that I got last season. And then the snapdragons I also grew from seed, and those were from Johnny's also. I did like the white and the pink mixed together. Those little pink flowers I didn't use so much in cut flower arrangements, but did like them at the base in the raised garden bed because some of them, the flowers I did add just for color. Now over against the wall, you see my potting bench that we created out of table legs that I thrifted for $2 a piece. So I have a little potting bench over there and put in some pumpkin seeds, grew some little pumpkins, had a lot of pumpkins this fall, probably more than 50 of those tiny miniature pumpkins with zinnias and some sunflowers. I did have something get into my sunflowers though. We think maybe it was a groundhog. We've never seen a groundhog in our area before, but I did catch him one night when we were out in the yard. I seen a groundhog, and we think he might have got in there and ate those sunflowers down. Now this is in the back garden, and the back garden was just beautiful. It's more formal than my cut flower garden. I'm keeping the cut flower garden as its name. I want it just mainly to cut flowers from for bouquets. The formal garden, though, I wanted this more to look at. I do cut flowers out of it, of course, because I have a lot of roses in there. I've got hydrangeas in there, lavender, and a lot of filler flower. And at the end of August, this is still one of my favorite spots to look at from my deck with the roses and hydrangeas and the lady statue back in the back. I just really like how those sitting pretty roses turned out and the hydrangea in between them. It was white most of the summer and then started turning to that antique pink color. The knockout roses are still looking pretty, like I said. If you need roses all summer long for continuous color, knockout roses normally will take care of that for you. Now over in this corner, I had that raspberry impatient, and it was a double impatient from Proven Winners that I will be growing again down on the ground there. I put it not only in the ground, I also put it in a container. I have a climbing rose that climbed through the tree and was using the Jane Magnolia as a trellis. I thought that was so pretty. I hope you enjoyed seeing the look back. Now we're going to get back in today's garden thrift. This was a gift from my sister, this three-piece set tee. And if you caught my Christmas video a few weeks ago in the first snow, you've seen this then. I just think I need to move this to the back garden. I have it here because I want it resting on the mulch and not in the grass in the wintertime. But what do you think? Do you think instead of having it in the cut flower garden, it would look better out in the formal garden in the backyard? Kind of like where I'm pointing at over here in this area. This is where I had the little table and two chairs last year. And instead, I'll move that table and two chairs over into the cut flower garden. So just kind of switch them. And I think it would look more with the style, but give me your opinion. Weigh in and give me a comment below. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing the look back and all the beautiful color. I hope it gave you some inspiration as you plan out your 2025 garden. And also, as you're out thrifting, be on the lookout for those different vessels that you can use to put your beautiful flowers in.
Thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you would like to see more of 2024 in detail, check out this playlist next.